focused around a set of verses that we'll read, is about how Dhruva Maharaj reached Badri Ashram, performed Ashtanga Yoga, which was the prescribed process for Satya Yoga. He engaged in yogic practices, became purified. Anyways, he was purified, but whatever absorption he had to make his yogic practice complete, he attained that. After attaining that, the Vaikuntha plane arrived to bring Dhruva Maharaj back to Dhruvaloka, not to the spiritual world, but the spiritual world within the material world, like that. And that's a whole discussion of how he defeated death in one lifetime, how he returned back, and his conduct. And there's a lot of discussion Prabhupada makes about the planes, the technology of traveling around the cosmic creation, the three ways to travel. Prabhupada talks about it. We'll take a look at it. So text number 17. Hare Krishna. Very low volume. Hare, sound is going? You're working on a hotspot, you can't do too many things. I hope you have stopped YouTube streaming.
Streaming on a private computer.
That's okay, but I hope you're not streaming it.
Streaming, but
when I asked you to stop, why did I ask you to stop? When bandwidth is low, then Zoom will usually affect you. हाँ मैं कह रहा हूँ जब bandwidth कम है, so can you stop the video? But you don't have a bandwidth only, why are you streaming and having also Zoom streaming? What is the use of making a video private? The idea is to stop the streaming so we have enough bandwidth for this. Hare Krishna, how is the sound? Video will lag because Prabhu was doing double streaming, regardless of having no bandwidth. This is okay. The problem with was the internet and the lagging. Alright, text number 17. In Badri Ashram, Dhruva Maharaj's senses became completely purified because he bathed regularly in the crystal clear purified water. He fixed a sitting position and by yogic practice controlled the breathing process in the air of life. In this way, senses were completely withdrawn. Then he concentrated his mind on the Arch Vigraha form of the Lord, which is the exact replica of the Lord. Thus, meditating upon him, he entered into complete trance. So, Prabhupada speaks about deity worship in the purport, even in Ashtanga Yoga. So, Ashtanga Yoga means 8 steps. Lord Shri Krishna speaks about in 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. Dhyana, Samadhi. So, meditating on what? So, modern day meditators, they'll meditate on an object or on a point on a wall, etc. etc. But what did Dhruva Maharaj practice? He practiced meditating on the deity as part of his dharana, dhyana, and samadhi, like that. Text number 18. And he attained perfection, he attained samadhi. What are the symptoms of it? Because of his transcendental bliss, incessant tears flowed from his eyes. His heart melted, there was shivering and standing of the hairs all over his body. Thus transformed in a trance of devotional service, Dhruva Maharaj completely forgot his bodily existence, and thus he immediately became liberated from material bondage. Thus transformed in a trance of devotional service, I would need the light. Yeah, please keep this light on because otherwise it's not visible. Thus transformed in a trance of devotional service, Dhruva Maharaj completely forgot his bodily existence, and thus he immediately became liberated from material bondage. So there is a particular word which is used, not going too much in Sanskrit in this series, but Mukta Linga, free from the subtle body. So what is the example of free from the subtle body? How do we understand becoming free from the subtle body? Prabhupada quotes an example of a coconut. Prabhupada said there's an example given in this context of coconut. When coconut is having water, you shake it, you can hear the water. But when coconut becomes dry, the coconut pulp naturally separates with the coconut shell. So which means now that pulp has got separated from the bondage of the shell. So it's become free. And the Prophet says, if you shake it, you can hear the sound. Like that is the idea of becoming free from the gross and the subtle body. From the bondage of gross and subtle body, which means the conditionings of the gross and the subtle body. Like that. Then text number 19. What happened when Dhruv Maharaj became liberated? As soon as the symptoms of his liberation were manifest, he saw a very beautiful airplane coming down from the sky, as if the brilliant full moon were coming down, illuminating all the 10 directions, and now came a Vaikuntha plane. Who was sitting on the Vaikuntha plane? Text number 20. Dhruv Maharaj saw two very beautiful associates of Lord Vishnu in the plane. They had 4 hands and a blackish bodily luster. They were very youthful. Their eyes were just like radish lotus flowers. They held clubs in their hands. They were dressed in a very attractive garments with helmets and very decorated with necklaces, bracelets, and earrings. It looks like almost like Vishnu. So, what is the difference between Vishnu Dutas and Vishnu? They almost dressed like Vishnu. They are holding the weapons like Vishnu. Their bodily luster is like Vishnu. They have 4 hands like Vishnu. What is the difference between Vishnu Dutas and Vishnu then? Yes, mother. Kaustubamani. Okay. What else? What is the difference? What Vishnu has that Vishnu Dutas cannot have? No, they have Sudarshan. They can have club. They can have Sudarshan. They can have lotus. In their 4 hands, they have that. Lakshmi, correct. And how does Lakshmi resides with Vishnu? Huh? What is that called as? Srivatsa. So they would not have the hair, the golden hair. Text number 21. Now Dhruv Maharaj, now he is 36,000 years old. He is not 5-year-old boy. So we read before कैसे जब पिछले अध्याय में हमने पढ़ा था कि जब भगवान नारायण ध्रुव महाराज के समक्ष प्रकट होते हैं 5 साल का बालक नर्वस हो जाता है अरे हाउ शुड आई वेलकम हिम हाउ शुड आई रिसीव हिम अब ये 36,000 साल के बूढ़े हैं नो ही इज नॉट ओल्ड ही वॉज ब्लेस्ड बाय द लॉर्ड योर सेंसेस विल नॉट ग्रो ओल्ड योर बॉडी विल नॉट ग्रो ओल्ड यू स्टिल यंग मैन energetic and now he sees Vishnu Dutas and once again Dhruv Maharaj becomes nervous. Why Dhruv Maharaj is becoming nervous? What does it indicate? What does it mean? I'll read on the translation. Dhruv Maharaj, seeing that these uncommon personalities were direct servants of the Lord, immediately stood up. But being puzzled and hasteness, he forgot how to receive them in the proper way. Therefore, he simply offered obeisances with folded hands, chanted, and glorified the holy names of the Lord. Nervousness का मतलब क्या है? अरे तो अभी तो आप इतने साल राजा होकर आपने राज्य किया है आपने क्या क्या नहीं किया है आज भी आप नर्वस हो गए why what does it mean careful is it natural or not natural the Rama is becoming nervous natural maybe respect for the Lord okay yeah not maybe has to be respect which is correct for example if somebody let's say for example Modi ji has to come right now there's a knock on the door and you're thinking अपना ही कोई बेस का लड़का होगा तुम दरवाजा खोलो मोदी जी खड़े हैं हाँ तो सब ठीक ठाक भारत में you know will you not become nervous because he has a position you know there is a particular aura and respect so that's what natural for the Maharaj is not that oh 5-year-old boy was nervous. How can a 36,000-year-old a man can be nervous? No, because of respect. When you respect somebody, when you welcome them and receive them, there is a sense of fear of not taking care of them properly. We should not, we should serve them so nicely. There should not be any inconvenience, and that brings a sense of nervousness. Text number 22. Dhruv Maharaj was always absorbed in thinking of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. His heart was full of with Krishna. When the 2 servants of the Lord, who were named Nanda and Sunanda, approached him smiling happily, Dhruv Maharaj stood with folded hands, bowing humbly. Then they addressed him as follows. Nanda and Sunanda sounds familiar? Who are Nanda and Sunanda? नंदा सुनंदा कौन है? कहाँ नाम सुना है आपने इनका? For those of you who are online today, because there is no internet, so I'm not connected to the laptop, I'm connected to the mobile. आप चाहें तो आप अपने आप जवाब दे सकते हैं. I will not be able to call upon you. I can't see you. तो नंदा सुनंदा कौन है? हाँ, नंद बाबा.
And Baba ke wo hai, they are brothers.
Yeah, there are 5 brothers, and that Nanda Sunanda, like that. Upananda was the eldest, like this. These are the names. So, that was the whole idea about it. Approached him, smilingly happy. Dhruv stood with folded hands, bowing humbly. They then addressed him as follows. तो अभी यहाँ ध्रुव महाराज की बारात निकलने वाली है. So अब हम सबके पास मौका है. एक बारात तो इस जीवन में निकलती है जिसमें आपको घोड़े पे बिठाया जाएगा, शनाई पे जाई जाएगी. जो ब्रह्मचर्य आश्रम ज्वाइन कर लेंगे उनको उस बारात का मौका नहीं मिलेगा, परंतु एक बारात तो सबको करनी है. या तो आप वैकुंठा एयरलाइन की बारात में बैठ के जाओ, या यमदूतों के द्वारा जो गधे भेजे जाते हैं उसके ऊपर बैठ के जाओ. तो कहाँ पे किस प्रकार की श्रद्धा रखेंगे उस प्रकार से will have to attend to the ceremony. How is it going on for Zoom? Is it still okay with the internet issue? Okay. Volume is used. Please use headphone. It is getting clear. So.
Speaker की वजह से आ रहा है, पर volume वो दूर से आ रही है.
इसके चल नहीं रहा है इसका sound. So give me that then. Let's try that. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. How is the sound? Is there any difference in the sound? Okay, this is better, loud and clear. All right. Text number 23. Nanda and Sunanda, the two confidential associates of Lord Vishnu, said, Dear King, let there be all good fortune unto you. Please attentively hear what we shall say. When you were only 5 years old, you underwent severe austerities, and you thereby greatly satisfied the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada writes something very beautiful here. For the 4th line in the pulpit, it is necessary for the leaders of the Krishna consciousness movement to start educational institutions in different parts of the world to train children starting at the age of 5. Thus, such children will not become hippies or spoiled children of society. Rather, they can all become devotees of the Lord. The face of the world will then change automatically. Text number 24. They introduce themselves. We are representatives of the Lord, the creator of the whole universe, who carries in his hand the bow called Sharanga. We have been specifically deputed to take you to the spiritual world. Which verse from Bhagavad Gita you can think of in this context, where Dhruv Maharaj is still alive? Antakale Chamameva Swarmukta Kalevar makes sense. But Dhruv Maharaj is still alive and still gets to go back home, back to Godhead. Which verse of Bhagavad Gita justifies this? Which verse you can think that qualifies for Dhruv Maharaj at this point of time also to go back? We know that at the time of quitting the body, if you remember, whatever bhava you remember, you go back. So how come now? Is it a violation of this verse? Or there is another verse, Krishna speaks about it. Madhyaji Maam Namaskuru. Man mana bhava mad bhakto. But it doesn't say that you'll come back. Does this verse says? Last line says probably. You'll attain me maybe. Yeah, man mana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji maam namaskuru. Last line, eva shasya satyam, thing like that. Okay. One verse is Janma karma chame divyam evam yoveti tatvataha. Tyakta dema, wo bhi hai tyakta deham, when you quit the body for the janma. So man mana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji maam namaskuru would be the most appropriate here. Anyways, text number 25. To achieve Vishnu Loka is very difficult. So this is Vishnu Duta speaking. But by your austerities you have conquered. Even the great rishis and devtas cannot achieve this position. So particularly what they are saying, this particular planet, Shishumar, which is known as Shishumar technically, or known as Dhruvalo, or in English called as pole star, which is within this material world. This planet cannot be attained by anyone except for Vaishnavas. No yogis or no rishis, amount of practice or amount of brahmacharya practice cannot attain. All it is attainable to the devotees of the Lord. Text number 26. My dear King Dhruva, neither your forefathers nor anyone else ever achieved such a transcendental planet, this planet known as Vishnu Loka, where the Lord personally resides. 27. O immortal one, this unique airplane has been sent by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is worshipped by the selected prayers and who is the chief of all living entities. You are quite worthy to board such a plane. So Prabhupada gives some technical details. What are the ways of traveling in the cosmic creation? First thing Prabhupada says, Shishumara, along with the pole star, there is another star which is called Shishumara, where Lord Vishnu, who is in the charge of the maintenance of this material world, resides. Shishumara or Dhruvaloka can never be reached by anyone but the Vaishnava, as will be described in the following shlokas. Okay. Next, Prabhupada says, the Vaikuntha airplane does not move by mechanical arrangements. And now Prabhupada gives some technical details. There are three ways for moving in outer space. First is called Ka-Pota Vayu. One of the processes known to the modern scientists, which is Ka-Pota Vayu. Ka means outer space, Pota means ship. Traveling in the outer space, Ka-Pota, through ship. That is called Ka-Pota Vayu. Second process is Kapota Vayu. Kapota means pigeon. One can train pigeons to carry one into outer space. And the third process is subtle. It is called Akash Patan. This Akash Patan is also material. Just as the mind can fly anywhere one likes without mechanical arrangements, so the Akash Patan airplane can fly at the speed of mind. This would be the yogic process. Just like the yogi appearing at one place to another place, like that. Beyond this Akash Patan system is also Vaikuntha process, which is completely spiritual. The airplane sent by Lord Vishnu to carry Dhruva Maharaj to Shishumara was a completely spiritual transcendental airplane, like that. So this Akash Patan, as well as I understand how it happens, is through the Ganges, which is flowing all through the universe, and through this Ganges, just like the yogi will take a dip at one place and will appear at another place. So this is one of the processes which in the 5th canto, if I remember, just like even in this, during the Kumbh Mela, Prabhupada will talk about how the yogis will take a dip on the Himalayas, will appear, and same this Akash Ganga. So there is an Akash Ganga. One Ganga is flowing here, there is an Akash Ganga. So like this, the yogis, those who know of the subtle process, they will take a dip at one particular place and immediately appear at another place, altogether another planet altogether, like that. So that is what I understand of Akash Patan, the way it happens. Text number 28. So now Dhruva Maharaj has been informed who are these two celestial beings, the purpose of their arrival. So now Dhruva prepares himself. How does Dhruva prepare himself? The great sage Maitreya said, Maharaj Dhruva was very dear to the Lord. When he heard the sweet speeches of the Lord's chief associates on the Vaikuntha planet, he immediately took a sacred bath, dressed himself with suitable ornaments, performed his daily spiritual duties. Thereafter, he offered his respectful obeisances to the great sages present there and accepted their blessings. Pretty interesting. सबसे पहले he took his sacred bath, dressed himself, performed his spiritual duties, and then he took the blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas. Now, did Dhruv Maharaj need any more blessings? चलो नहाना धोना ठीक है, उसमें बाद में आएंगे. You're going to meet the Lord. You want to be in your finest appearance, which makes sense. Now, Dhruv Maharaj have already got the best of the blessings. What more blessings he's asking for? Yes, Apu Govind Prabhu.
The more one is advanced, he considers himself lower than others. So he always needs blessings.
He always needs blessings. Okay, thank you for that.
Although he might not need blessings, but he feels that I need blessings, so that I will take
Okay.
blessings.
So that's the consciousness of an advanced soul. Perfect. Thank you for that. Anshul Prabhu has something.
There is
वो चलेगा नहीं. So I believe
original sound on that. थोड़ा sound आएगा.
original sound. ठीक है, go ahead.
There is no limit of blessings.
Now the mic will work.
One can able to hear.
Okay, so by your speaking, ठीक है. आज internet नहीं है तो whatever it is. Yeah, go ahead.
There is no limit of blessings. We can take blessings more and more.
There is no limit to gulab jamun. I can eat more and more. Okay, ठीक है. Yes, mother.
When you're going to meet Lord, you definitely have to go through Vaishnavas and with the blessings of Vaishnavas
So
only you will be
Sunanda
able to-
Nanda were there, na? He was going through them only. So okay, thank you for that. So through the Vaishnav's blessing, Mother Chitra.
सीनियर वैष्णव को हमेशा आदर करेंगे चाहे कितना भी हाई लेवल का काम हो.
So that's again advanced devotee consciousness, like Apu going through was saying. Thank you. Yes, Mother.
The third one is when you are going to meet the Lord, you go through a lot of awkward places. Should not get disturbed.
Okay. Yeah, nice. Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. That's going to happen. Okay. Thank you for that. Anyone online? Want to say? Okay, yeah, devotees are not able to hear today. All right. So, Mother Ashwini was saying, because you're going to go back home, so you're going to see all the opulences of this material creation. So, to take blessing, not to get distracted. Good idea. Mother Chitra said, consciousness of a Vaishnava always seeks blessings. Mother Shama Vallavi said, what is that? Vaishnava blessing. You cannot approach the Lord without Vaishnava's blessing, like that. Okay. All correct. Just my side of thought to it. Imagine how would others feel. Imagine how would other Vaishnavas feel. The Sunanda and Nanda came only to take Dhruv Maharaj. Dhruv Maharaj was a king. He came for some time, did tapasya. Vishnu have called him. And we are whole life spent doing tapasya. What about us? So there would be a sense of insecurity, and there could be a sense of envy arise. Look, this young chap, he gets to go. But now if the same young chap, if he acts humbly and he offers obeisances, that at least gives them some satisfaction and respect. They can, otherwise it can lead to, So one thing is, how great a devotee may be. Okay, let me put it this way. This is a success. This is the greatest success Dhruva has got. So regardless of whatever success you may get as a devotee, you never, you never give up on being sensitive to other Vaishnavas. Otherwise we should not. It's very easy to get into this. I am better than others. And that arrogance can lead to a lot of, it can destroy the purity of the environment. I'm trying to bring that perspective here. Whatever you said is totally correct from the consciousness. But in terms of an application when we are living together, maybe we receive, let's say our spiritual master is here, and at the end of the program, he offered garland. And there is one garland. He can only give to one devotee. What can he do? But somebody gets it. So how should you react? That is something we are focusing on that. Take care of that, because others gonna always think, "Mujhe kyun nahi mila?" Yes or no? It's but natural. Why not me? Why not me? Imagine all the sages there. They'll also wonder, why not me? Why not me? And at this point of time, Dhruva Maharaj offer obeisances and seeks blessing. So whatever little bit inconvenience would have happened to their heart, they'll be still settled. They will also develop again. They will be reminded of the Vaishnava quality. So humility is such a powerful weapon. If any little bit of itch happens, humility settles it. It again cannot purify. That's the point I want to bring over here. Text number 28 we talked about, right? Yeah, he took it. Another aspect, Prabhupada offers aspect is how dutiful Dhruva Maharaj was. He still chanted his 16 rounds. बोला अब क्या जरूरत है? अभी तो मेरा हो गया कोटा. I'm just saying, So Prabhupada is saying he was so dutifully chanted his rounds and did all that thing. Text number 29. And then after offering obeisances to the sages there, what Dhruva Maharaj did? He offered respects to the plain and to the assembled Vaishnavas who had come to receive him. Before getting aboard, Dhruva Maharaj worshipped the plain, circumambulated it. Also offered obeisances to the associates of Vishnu. In the meantime, he became brilliant, illuminating as molten gold. He was thus completely prepared to board the transcendental plane. So why Dhruva Maharaj offered respects to the plane? Plane? Why offer respect to plane? Sages? Okay. Nanda Sunanda? Absolutely okay. Plane? Why offer respects to plane? Vajani Prabhu? Okay, yeah, go ahead. Somebody is speaking online.
Prabhuji, all the paraphernalia related to Krishna is Balaram.
Yeah, can we do one thing? Whoever is speaking, if they can tell the names so I know who's speaking, because I'm not able to see anyone.
Roshni.
Okay, Mother Roshni, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm saying everything related to Krishna is also, it's spiritual, and anyway, all the paraphernalia that
Yeah.
Krishna is Balaram.
Yeah, so thank you for that. Correct. So everything related to Lord, just like when you go to Vrindavan, we offer obeisances, but when you come to Pune, you don't do that. कहने को तो वो भी शहर है, ये भी शहर है, गांव शहर जो भी है. Why? But because it is Lord's abode. So anything which is related to Lord, it becomes worshipable. So that means when we are dealing with deity paraphernalia, we should be careful how we handle it. Just like Mother Roshni said, it's all an expansion of Balaramji. Similarly with musical instruments, they're also expansion of Balaramji. Either be Mridanga, either be Kartal, everything should have a proper place and they should be properly kept and respected like that. So this is how Dhruva Maharaj is acting. Prabhupada talks about this is called as culture, like this. Then there are more things in the purport which you can read out later on. Anyways, text number 30. When Dhruva Maharaj was attempting to get on the transcendental plane, he saw death personified approached him. Not caring for death, however, took advantage of the opportunity to put his feet on the head of death, and thus he got up on the plane, which was as big as house. To take the passing away of a devotee and the passing away of a non-devotee as one and the same is completely misleading. Prabhupada writes in the purport. So, devotee keeps his feet on the head of a death, whereas for a non-devotee, death devours him. Prabhupada is making a point. There's a difference there, like this. In the next paragraph, Prabhupada writes, there are many similar instances in Bhagavat literature. It is stated when Kadama Muni created an airplane to carry his wife. Devuti, all of the universe, the airplane was like a big city carrying many houses, lakes, and gardens. Modern scientists have manufactured big airplanes, but they're packed with passengers. Yeah, really, it's like a local bus. The amount of space you have in the airplane, unless you're a business class traveler, who experience all sorts of discomforts while riding in them. Now, in today's time, even if you're a business traveler, your mind will be too much in anxiety after recent incident. These days, videos are circulating of Hanuman Chalisa being recited before, flight takes off. Material scientists are not even perfect in manufacturing a material airplane. In order to compare to the plane used by Kadama, the plane sent from Vaikuntha, they must manufacture a plane equipped with a big city with all the comforts of life, lakes, gardens, parks, etc. Thomas talks about that like this. Text number 31. At that time, drums and kettle drums resounded from the sky, and the chief Gandharva began to sing. And other devtas showered flowers like torrents of rain upon Dhruva Maharaj. Can you imagine? Imagine you work hard, struggle for so much, and then you might become, let's say, a manager, maybe a project manager. एक garland भी नहीं पहनाता कोई, है ना? Even if you become a CEO of the company, कोच नहीं होने वाला, कोई देवता तुम्हें देख के मुस्कुराने वाला नहीं है, कोई पुष्प अभिषेक नहीं होने वाला है. यहाँ look, similarly we just read about Bhishma Pitamaha, same thing. When Bhishma Pitamaha passed away, same thing. At that time, the drums and the cattle drums resounded. Okay, no, actually, we have not read that. We're going to read it this coming Saturday, that section. The chief Gandharvas began to sing, and the other devtas showered flowers like torrents of rain upon Dhruva Maharaj. Tasyeva hetu payate takovidu na lapyate yad brahmatam upariyada. Nadmani says, first canto, 5th chapter, 17 of the 18th verse probably. So what should we aspire in life? This should be the goal. अगर कुछ aspire करना ही है, so aspire for such a situation where everyone is lined up and praising us, showering flowers at us. And that is only possible for a devotee of the Lord. Text number 32. Dhruva was seated in the plain which was just about to start when he remembered his poor mother, Suniti. He thought to himself, how shall I go alone to the Vaikuntha planet and leave behind my poor mother? This is one of the very important purports which talks about importance of gratitude. His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj once spoke on this verse and details. If you go and look for Maharaj class on gratitude on this verse, please do hear it. Very, very beautiful lecture. That was given in Pirama's house or Billa's house, something, on 26th January evening like that. Prabhupada writes in the purport. I'll read out a few important lines. Dhruva had a feeling of obligation to his mother Suniti. It was Suniti who had given him the clue, who had now enabled him to be personally carried to the Vaikuntha planet by the associates. He now remembered her and wanted to take her with him. Actually, Dhruva Maharaj's mother Suniti was his Path Pradarshak Guru. Path Pradarshak Guru means the Guru or the spiritual master who shows the way. Such a Guru is sometimes called Shiksha Guru. Although Narad Muni was his Diksha Guru, Suniti, his mother, was the first who gave him instruction on how to achieve the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is the duty of the Shiksha Guru and what is other things like that. So, if Prabhupada is bringing this context, the Dhruva Maharaj remembers Suniti, not because Suniti was his mother, not because of bodily relationship, which he didn't had any identification. Now, he remembers Suniti just because Suniti showed him the way. What do we learn about it? What are your thoughts on it? What do we learn about? What can you reflect upon it? Let's talk about the Kanishta mentality. How does the Kanishta looks at it? If I'm framing my question correctly, how does Kanishta looks at it about his progress in life, devotional life?
My progress is the result of my hard work.
And well, it's not incorrect. Who performed tapasya? Dhruva Maharaj. Who lived alone in the forest? Dhruva Maharaj. He did everything. So to say that is not wrong, what else? I mean, Suniti just said go to forest. And you might find some sages and they may tell you where you will find Narayan. She showed the way. And it was until Narad Muni came, otherwise there was no opportunity. So Suniti guiding Dhruva was too insignificant. But it was a very important junction, because if she would have guided him to some devta or something, then things would not have happened. Of course, if Narad Muni would have come, again things would have changed. Without Narad Muni, he would not have attained what he got. Without Suniti, he would not have started his journey. That is called Path Pradaksha Guru. So how does Kanishta looks at the whole situation? How would a Kanishta would look at it?
they easily forgot the hands that helped in their journey.
So जो कनिष्ठा होता है वो भूल जाता है कि इन लोगों ने उनकी मदद करी है. Okay. Mother Chintamani, looks like you are speaking. Go ahead. Are you getting the point?
Yes.
Yeah.
Kanishta Adhikari is only bothered about the deities and the Abhideya part of it. He is not bothered about the devotees who are helping out.
Okay. Fine.
So he is not bothered about the devotees. He is only bothered
Yeah.
about the Lord.
Thank you, Mother.
His connection with the Lord.
Yeah. Thank you. So point is, deity in the temple, you're speaking the classic definition of Kanishta. I want you to go further deeper into it. How does a Kanishta would behave? How does he behave? There is a Diksha Guru, there is a Pad Pradaksha Guru. How does a Kanishta behave? For Dhruva, his devotional life would not have started if he would not have got direction. And Prabhupada said that Pad Pradaksha Guru or Shiksha Guru. There are different gurus. Pad Pradaksha Guru, Shiksha Guru, Diksha Guru. How does Kanishta behave in this context of Guru?
He thinks that he is doing everything.
Okay. What else?
He,
Go ahead.
he considers.
Are you all audible or do I need to repeat your responses?
Now I've become superior.
I have become superior. Okay.
वो सोचता है कि वो अपने दम पर ही मतलब
हाँ सब लोग आप वही कह रहे हो अपने दम वाली बात. ठीक है. उसके अलावा जाइए. Yes, approval. Skipped. Mother Shama will be.
Maybe one step further, he may give credit to maybe his own guru or the person who actually helped him or showed him the thing, but not to the others.
Okay, don't give it to others, but at least give it to those who helped. I'm saying, how does Kanishta behave? Yes, Mother Shwani.
I think Kanishta will think that what can I get rather than what can I do for.
Okay, so Kanishta mentality is he will not understand any other relationship or have a sense of responsibility except for Diksha Guru. शिक्षा का तो उसके लिए कोई महत्व नहीं होता क्योंकि उसको लगता है कि फॉर्मल प्रोसेस हुई है. अग्नि के सामने बैठा हूँ, मैंने अग्नि में आहुति डाली है, मुझे बीड्स मिली है, तो उसको लगता है दीक्षा गुरु दीक्षा गुरु दीक्षा गुरु. दीक्षा गुरु मंदिर आएंगे तो मैं भी मंदिर आऊँगा, दीक्षा गुरु होंगे तो मैं करूँगा. बट व्हेन देयर इज नो दीक्षा गुरु, दिस शिष्य इज ऑल्सो गायब. He will not be seen. But here, Dhruva Maharaj is even reminded of Mother Suniti. Again, माता के रूप में बात नहीं कर रहे प्रभुपाद. सुनीति ने तो सिर्फ एक ही चीज कही थी. In one way, we can say even her shiksha profile was too minimal. What to speak about those who really teach you all through. So Kanishta क्या है? वो हर चीज को माइनस कर देता है. And for him, how Kanishta will behave? The moment, for example, let's say the temple, if the Diksha Guru has come, then he will forget about his relationship with the Shiksha and other devotees. He will just focus about Diksha Guru. Because for him, that is what is the, क्योंकि शास्त्र में लिखा हुआ है गुरु करके, तो उसको गुरु का संबंध समझ नहीं आता. गुरु गुरुवे होता है, not one. And that's how, again, Kanishta means precisely narrow-minded. And narrow-minded के अंदर, जैसे Mother Chintamani was saying, he sees deity in the temple only. He doesn't appreciate the devotee association like that. So that's what happens. And that is what now if you look at around within ISKCON also you will see that. उसको गुरु मतलब दीक्षा गुरु. शिक्षा गुरु कौन सिखा रहा है, क्या है, उसका कुछ मतलब पता नहीं, महत्व पता नहीं, क्या हमारा रिलेशनशिप होना चाहिए नहीं पता. हमारा गुरु एक ही है, दीक्षा गुरु. उस प्रकार से. Otherwise Dhruva Maharaj would not have remembered, because what did Suniti do? It's just like a book distributor. It's just like a book distributor giving you a book. Being grateful for that also is a consciousness of a devotee. Unless somebody gave me a book, if that book I would not have got, and if I would not have started reading, would my devotional life start? But no, everything Diksha Guru. Who brought you to Diksha Guru? Who qualified you to that stage to take Diksha? Nothing. Diksha Guru, Diksha Guru, Diksha Guru. That's a Kanishta mentality. So here, who is remembering? Suniti. Very insignificant contribution in the scope of Dhruva's overall life. She was like a book distributor who gave you a book and said, If you worship Krishna, your life will be successful. That's what she said. Nothing else. And everything was done by Dhruva Maharaj only. He went to the forest. Similarly, सामने वाला व्यक्ति बुक ना पढ़े, परिवर्तन थोड़ा आएगा. तो कह सकता है ना, बुक तो मैंने पढ़ी ना, पर आपको दिया किसने? Who did that? That's the consciousness, and that's the actual consciousness of a devotee. He understands who has done what for me, and he's not caught up into this idea of Diksha Guru like that only. Is that having faith in Diksha Guru, having love for this is not wrong, but the sentimental idea, na, only Diksha Guru, that is not correct. Where we forget who has qualified us, who has brought us to that situation, who is helping us all through. तो लोग के अंदर वो एक बैलेंस नहीं आता रिलेशनशिप का उस प्रकार से. So like this. And then next thing is the moment Dhruva Maharaj thought of mother, these Nanda and Sunanda told Dhruva or understood Dhruva's intention or desire, and they said, yes, your mother is also. Dhruva said, so just like it is said, Chintamani prakarasad mashu kalpa vriksha lakshavaraseshu survi abhipalyantam. In other words, the spiritual life and the spiritual world is every desire of yours is fulfilled. Not only that, even if you're not in the spiritual world, pure devotees, every desire is fulfilled. The moment he thought of, the desire got fulfilled. So nobody can have greater sense gratification than a pure devotee, because whatever he wants, he gets. So we all have choices to make. Text number 33. The great associates of Vaikuntha, Nanda and Sunanda, could understand the mind of Dhruva, and thus they showed him that his mother Suniti was going forward in another plane. This incident proves that Shiksha or Diksha, Guru who has a disciple who strongly executes devotion like Dhruva Maharaj, can be carried by the disciple even though the instructor is not as advanced. Very beautiful purport here. Relationship between Guru and disciple. Prabhupada says if disciple is potent enough, then he can also deliver Guru. He can also carry. So Mother Suniti have not practiced, or to that extent the Dhruva Maharaj, but like that. Okay, these are a few important lines, we can read it. The conclusion, middle of the purport, is that a disciple or an offspring who is a very strong devotee can carry with him to Vaikuntha Loka either his father, mother, or Shiksha or Diksha Guru. So many times those who are joining renounced order brahmachari life, they have this doubt. Even parents have this worry. Hamari dekhbhal kaun karega? The best service to the parents can be done by us is by becoming the devotee of the Lord, because you're guaranteeing their next life. Whatever going to happen to them in this life is already written. You can't change it. Even if you're the best doctor in the creation, you can't increase their lifespan even by a moment. The pain and suffering that they have to face, they're going to face it because that's their prarabdha. But by our devotional life, what we can change is their future. That's what Prabhupada is writing about. Example is Prahlad Maharaj, here example is Dhruva Maharaj. And then Prabhupada says, quoting Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he used to say, if I could perfectly deliver even one soul back home, back to Godhead, I would think my mission, propagating Krishna consciousness, to be successful. The Krishna conscious movement is spreading all over the world, and sometimes I think that even though I am crippled in many ways, if one of my disciples becomes as strong as Dhruva Maharaj, then will be able to carry me with him to Vaikuntha Loka. So Prabhupada in his humility is writing like this. And now, with all humility, we can say, if Prabhupada can be carried by one of his disciples, that one of his disciples can't carry all of us. This is my response to Ritviks. To think that after Prabhupada, there is nobody qualified or going to be qualified to take any one of us back home, back to Godhead. And Prabhupada is saying, I would feel myself most fortunate if one of the disciples, even one, can become qualified to even take me. Prabhupada is saying, I'll be happy. And Ritvik says, no, after Prabhupada, nobody is qualified. Text number 34. To say that is such an insult for all the sacrifices of Prabhupada did. Then after Prabhupada, nobody is qualified to deliver. Text number 34. As Mother Ashmi was making a point now. So, how many of you like to travel? So, we're going to travel to Himalayas again in September. So, that beauty cannot be compared to and this is free travel, huh? Visa free. You don't have to line up in a queue to get your visa. Free visa, free travel, with including with prasadam, dining. Oh, उस प्लेन में ही है सब कुछ, रहने वहने का सब कुछ arrangement है. And now Dhruva Maharaj is going to go through this whole cosmic creation and see everything like that. While Dhruva Maharaj was passing through space, he gradually saw all the planets of the solar systems. And on the path, he saw all the devtas in the plains showering flowers upon him like rain. Wow. Isn't it too good? All the devtas lined up. Those devtas who you had worshipped. Dhana Lakshmi, क्या वो? Sukha Sampati Ghar Aave Jai Jagadish Hare. Now they are lining up showering flowers. That is what is happening with Dhruva Maharaj here. We should remember that Dhruva Maharaj's body was different from our bodies in the puppet. While boarding the Vaikuntha, his body changed to a completely spiritual golden hue. No one can surpass the higher planets in a material body, but when one gets a spiritual body, so he was given a space suit. He can travel not only to the higher planetary systems of this world, but even to the still higher planetary systems known as Vaikuntha. We know already Narad travels everywhere. And there is a note for Mother Suniti, how to train their children like Dhruva Maharaj. Text number 35. Dhruva Maharaj surpassed the 7 planetary systems of the great sages, Saptarishis. Beyond that region, he achieved the transcendental situation of permanent life in the planet where Lord Vishnu resides. Text number 36. The self-effulgent Vaikuntha planets, by whose illumination alone all the illuminating planets within this material world give off reflected light, cannot be reached by those who are not merciful to other living entities. Jivadaya. Only persons who constantly engage in welfare activities for other living entities can reach the Vaikuntha planets. Papa writes in the puppet, second paragraph, first line, a Krishna conscious being is always engaged in planning how to take all of suffering humanity back home, back to Godhead. Any praman for this from Bhagavad Gita? Only persons who constantly engage in the welfare activities for the living entities can reach the Vaikuntha planets. Any praman, evidence of it from Bhagavad Gita? What does Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita? The last words spoken by Krishna, literally the last words. The one who shares the message of Gita, or this knowledge, idam, is most dear to me. Who will go back to Godhead? Who Krishna chooses, right? So who Krishna would call? Who shares this wisdom with others. And this is where in 36 has been said. Only persons who constantly engage in welfare activities for the living entities can reach the Vaikuntha planets. The same concept. Text number 37. Persons. So what are the qualities required for going back? Shanta samadrisha shuddha sarva bhutanuranjana yanti anjasya chuta padam achuta priyabandavaha shantona shant svabhav samadrisha equipoised, or I'll put it broad-minded because we are speaking on that context, narrow-minded, broad-minded. Shuddha, Shuddh, purified, Shuddham. Sarva Bhutanu Ranjanaha, Anuranjana, pleasing, which means kind to all living entities. Yanti Anjasa Achutapadam, ऐसा व्यक्ति अच्युतपदम को प्राप्त करता है. अंजसा, यांति मतलब जाना, अंजसा बहुत सरलता से. ऐसा व्यक्ति जिसके गुण है उसको अच्युत पदम प्राप्त होता है. अच्युत प्रिया बांधवा, अच्युत प्रिया बांधवा, he gets अच्युत प्रिया बांधवा means he gets the word of the Lord and the devotees like that. So qualities of devotees, which is already a subject matter of Bhagavad Gita. In which section of Bhagavad Gita Krishna speaks about the qualities needed come back to him? Where in Bhagavad Gita? Mother?
12th chapter and 13th chapter.
Yeah, 13th chapter talks about the process of knowledge. The process of knowledge. 13.4 briefly speaks about. Actual chapter is 12th chapter, verses 13 to 20, 18. 12.13 to
And
12.18.
also 13th chapter, Amanitvam, Padamritvam,
Yeah.
Ahimsa, Shanti, Rajya.
That's largely about the process of knowledge. But in terms of qualities, 12th chapter, verses 13 onward. Correct. Okay, text number 38. I'm just helping you look into that way. So you see, there is the same thing what Krishna says, the same thing Acharya or Maitri Muni speaking is the same thing, not different. Just presentation could be here and there. Text number 38. In this way, the fully Krishna conscious Dharma, the exalted son of Uttanapad, attained the summit of the three statuses of the planetary system. Text number 39. Maitri Muni said, My dear Vidura, descendant of Kuru, as a herd of bulls circumambulates the central pole on their right side, all the luminaries in the universal sky unceasingly circumambulate the abode of the Maharaj with great force and speed. So the pole star is said to be the epicenter, and around which everything else move around. An example is given of a chandelier, upside down chandelier, not the regular chandelier, but upside down chandelier, like that. The example is given, upside down chandelier, right? Yeah, chandelier comes like this. So upside down chandelier. So around this, all the luminaries are moving around. We'll discuss about that in 5th canto. Text number 40. After observing the glories of Dhruva, the great said, Narada, the playing has been, went to the sacrificial arena of the Prachetas and very happily chanted the following 3 verses. Now, Narada Muni glorifies his successful student. How happy Narada Muni would be. And he's going to express his happiness. Text number 31. Narada Muni said, simply by the influence of his spiritual advancement and powerful austerity, Dhruva Maharaj, the son of Sunati, who was devoted to her husband, acquired an exalted position not possible to attain even for the so-called Vedantas or strict followers of the Vedic principles, not to speak of the ordinary human beings. Text number 42. The great sage Narada continued, just see how Dhruva Maharaj, aggrieved at the harsh words of his stepmother, went to the forest at the age of 5 and under my direction underwent austerity. Although the Lord is unconquerable, Dhruva Maharaj defeated him with the specific qualifications possessed by the Lord's devotees. This is something very important purpose. I'm not going in details. I'm just giving summary. But this purpose talks about. But maybe we can just read 1 or 2 points. What was the one quality that Dhruva Maharaj had, which qualified him not only to go back to God, it qualified him to practice bhakti and grow in bhakti. Determination. What was that one quality?
Followed the instructions.
Followed the instructions. Obedience. Yes, of course, determination, no doubt about it. Purpose focuses on that. Submissiveness. Text number 43. Dhruva Maharaj attained an exalted position at the age of only 5 or 6 years. After undergoing austerity for 6 months, alas, a great Kshatriya cannot achieve such a position even after undergoing austerities for many, many years. Prabhupada writes in the purport, 2nd paragraph, the great sage Narada was very proud of having a devotee disciple like Dhruva. He had many other disciples, but he was very pleased with Dhruva because in one lifetime, by dint of his severe penances and austerities, he had achieved Vaikuntha, which was never achieved by any other king's son or even Rajrishis throughout the whole universe. Text 44, the story ends. Oh, okay, no. In the purport concludes this whole story. Text number 43 purport. I'm reading the 7th or 8th last line. The lesson from the life of Dhruva Maharaj is that if one likes, one can attain Vaikuntha in one life without waiting for many other lives. My Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, used to say that every one of his disciples could attain Vaikuntha in one life without waiting for another life to execute Bhakti. One simply has to become as serious and sincere as Dhruva Maharaj. Then it is quite possible to attain Vaikuntha Lok go back home, back to Godhead in one life. How simply put? One simply has to become serious and sincere. As if becoming is so simple. One simply has to. Text number 44, the story ends. Maitrivacha etate abhihitam sarvam yat prashtoham iha tvaya. तो आपके द्वारा जो प्रश्न पूछा गया था मैंने उसका उत्तर दे दिया है. ध्रुवस्योद्याम यशस चरितम सम्मतम सताम. My dear Vidura, whatever you have asked from me about the great reputation and character of Dhruva, I have explained to you in all detail. Great saintly persons and devotees very much like to hear about Dhruva Maharaj. This is something which should be heard repeatedly. And who heard it repeatedly? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. For a Kanishta, he will say, I have heard it, I know it. For those who are becoming more serious and advanced, they would like to hear it again and again. Text number 45. Now, the glories of Dhruva Katha. Maitreya Muni says, by hearing the narration of Dhruva Maharaj, one can fulfill the desires for wealth, reputation, increased duration of life. It is so auspicious that one can even go to heavenly planet or attain Dhruva Loka, which was achieved by Dhruva Maharaj just by hearing about him. Devtas became so pleased because his narration is so glorious and it is so powerful that it can counteract all results of one's sinful actions. Really, just by hearing, what are your thoughts? केवल सुनने मात्र से इतना कुछ हो जाएगा. सुनने मात्र से ही आपकी धन की, रेपुटेशन, अच्छी हेल्थ, सब इच्छा पूर्ण हो जाएगी. यहाँ तक कि आप स्वर्ग में भी जा सकते हैं, यहाँ तक कि आपको ध्रुव लोक में मिल सकता है. Just by hearing about him. And this katha is so powerful, it can counteract all the results of one's sinful actions. What does it mean? सुनने मात्र से इतना कुछ हो जाएगा? ये एग्जैजरेशन है, फैक्चुअल है. भागवतम में लिखा है तो फैक्चुअल होगा, हमें एग्जैजरेशन लग सकता है. So how is it factual? Yes, Upper Govind Prabhu?
Because when you hear it with rapt attention, then you will be in the close contact with Guru Maharaj and his wonderful character. So that way, if the iron rod is put into fire, that iron rod also becomes fire. So that way, one individual who is hearing, that also becomes.
So what will happen?
So
by hearing will become pure, you're saying. My question is how? So in the right direction, but how does that? Yes, Prajani Prabhu?
Basically, when we read Srimad Bhagavatam, that is bhakti. Bhakti is ultimately powerful.
Thank you. अब तुमने वही रिपीट करा जो लिखा हुआ है. by hearing. प्रभु का कॉन्फिडेंस इतना हाई था, बस प्रभु यही है. फुल फेथ आई हैव. थैंक यू फॉर दैट. यस नीरज प्रभु.
Whatever you said, like connected to Lord, it is also become divya.
Okay, go further. I will discuss this. I'll not say which chapter of Bhagavad Gita, but I'll tell you then. Yes, mother.
By hearing the Vaishnavas' qualities, we get inspired, and Vaishnavas are so powerful that they can, with their ability, we can change.
You're getting close to it. Any more attempts? Yes, Mother Sita.
परंपरा से जो आता है तो जैसे भगवान कृष्ण के गुण भी जैसे ध्रुव मार्ग में आ गए, तो इस तरह से परंपरा के थ्रू चलते हैं तो वो गुण आ जाता है.
हाँ, कैसे आते हैं? Correct, which is all correct. What happens after hearing? Point is, it happens. And if it is not happening for us after hearing, there is something missing. You getting it? कथा तो हमने भी सुनी है, तो हमारी इच्छा पूर्ति क्यों नहीं हो रही? You getting the point? कैसे बदलेगी?
The consciousness changes on hearing.
So what happens is, now for us, again this has already been discussed before also, when we hear these narrations like this, then we cultivate desire to practice bhakti. Why? Because it gives us faith in bhakti. तो आपके सुनने मात्र का फायदा नहीं है जब तक एक्शन नहीं होगा. और वो एक्शन कब होगा भक्ति का? जब श्रद्धा आएगी. जब इच्छा जागृत होगी तो ये कथाएं हमें डिजायर्स देती हैं भक्ति करने की, इससे श्रद्धा पैदा होती है। तो सुनने वाले तो अब यही जो कथा है बहुत सारे भागवत सप्ताहकार भी करते हैं, तो ये तो गारंटी उनके लिए भी है, तो क्यों नहीं हो रहा और हमारे लिए क्यों नहीं हो रहा? हमने सुना है पर अभी भी इच्छा जागृत नहीं हुई है। सो अनलेस दैट डिजायर हैपन्स, डिजायर कल्टिवेट्स कि हाँ मुझे भी ये चाहिए, आई ऑल्सो वॉन्ट दिस, यू विल नॉट लीड अ लाइफ लाइक ध्रुव महाराज। नाउ फॉर दैट टू हैपन वी हैव टू कीप ऑन हियरिंग रिपीटेडली until we cultivate that desire. तो ये अब हमारा विषय है। ये मैं इसलिए बोल रहा हूँ, जो व्यक्ति सोचता है, अगेन कनिष्ठ मेंटालिटी, जो सोचता है मैंने पढ़ लिया एक बार हो गया मेरा, मैंने सुन लिया एक बार हो गया मेरा, मुझे सब पता है, हम सब सर्वज्ञानी हैं, ऑल फाइन। आपकी इच्छा का स्तर क्या है? आपकी इच्छा का परिवर्तन हुआ है तब ठीक है, अगर इच्छा में परिवर्तन नहीं हुआ है दोबारा जाओ, दोबारा सुनो।
सैकड़ों बार सुनेंगे तब शायद वो डिसाइड,
तभी तो ये ब्लेसिंग्स पूर्ण होगी। सो दैट्स अ मिसिंग गैप। सो व्हाट शुड चेंज इज अवर डिजायर शुड चेंज व्हेन वी आर हियरिंग। एंड ओके, फॉर द टाइमिंग व्हेन वी आर हियरिंग जस्ट वी रेड समथिंग, एक इच्छा जागृत है ना, वाह आई ऑल्सो वांट इट, आई वाज गिविंग यू दैट काइंड ऑफ कैरेट आल्सो ऑल थ्रू, यू नो, देखो हमें मिलेगा तो ऐसा होगा। तो अभी क्या है, अभी सुन के हम शायद चले जाएंगे। तो कलयुग में क्या है, सीमित बुद्धि है और साथ ही साथ डिस्ट्रैक्शंस इतना है, माइंड इज फुल ऑफ एंजाइटी, वी माइट फॉरगेट। सो व्हाट वी नीड टू डू, हियर रेगुलरली। Therefore, I was other day making point, there has to be morning program. As a community, we have to start hearing. So that's the point. So desire. So giving a reference from Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, verse number 1, Krishna says, Arjuna, Tashunu. Why did Krishna say Tashunu? Because 6th chapter, verse number 47, Krishna said, Yogina Visarvisham Mad Gatina Antaratma Shraddhavan. जो श्रद्धा के साथ मेरी सेवा करता। तो अर्जुन ने पूछा श्रद्धा कैसे आती है, फेथ कैसे आता है? कृष्ण ने कहा आप सुनो, सुनोगे तो श्रद्धा आएगी। तो सुनने से क्या मिलती है? श्रद्धा, और श्रद्धा से हम उसका पालन करते हैं और तब ये सफलता प्राप्त होती है। टेक्स्ट नंबर 46, anyone who hears the narration of, what's the time, I don't have watch here, anyone who hears the narration of the Maharaj, who repeatedly tries and with faith repeatedly and devotion to understand his pure character, attains the pure devotional platform, execute pure devotional service, and these are blessings are given. Now see Prabhupada writes on the purport, the 5th last line. If one simply reads over and over again about Guru Maharaj by hearing and reading this chapter, one can attain the highest perfection of life in any way he desires. Most importantly, he gets a chance. He can attain the higher perfection in any way he desires. So it has to begin with desire. So what needs to change? Our desires. So let's conclude this chapter. I believe how many verses? Few verses. Text number 47. Anyone who hears this narration of Dhruv Maharaj acquires exalted qualities like him. I believe Prajani people was making a point by associating, and some of you are also making a point. For anyone who desires greatness, prowess, or influence, here's the process by which to acquire them. And for thoughtful men who want adoration, here's the proper means. आपको पूजा लाभ प्रतिष्ठा चाहिए, ये है सर्वश्रेष्ठ तरीका. Like that, you know, even the devatas would be lined up to honor us. It's like that. Text number 48. The great sage Matthew recommended one should chant of the character and activities of the Dhruv Maharaj, both in the morning and in the evening, with great attention and care in a society of brahmanas or the twice born purpose. You can mark it. There's a beautiful purport जहाँ प्रभुपाद लिखते हैं ISKCON की स्थापना हमने क्यों की है, Why ISKCON is founded. तो कोई पूछता है तो ये purport पढ़ सकते हैं. ISKCON has been created to give opportunity to people to hear about Krishna. Text number 49 to 50. कब recite करना है? Persons who have completely taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord should recite this narration of Dhruv Maharaj without taking remuneration. So पंडित जी जो कथा कर रहे हैं उनको फीस नहीं मांगनी चाहिए फिर कथा करने के बाद. तो जितने भी भागवत सप्ताहकार हैं और जो उसको सुन रहे हैं सबका सुनना पठन सब बेकार है. Specifically, recitation is recommended on the full moon or dark moon day, on the day after Ekadashi, on the appearance of Shravan star at the end of the particular tithi or the occasion of Vyatipat, at the end of the month or on Sunday. Such recitation should be, of course, be performed before a favorable audience. When recitation is performed this way without professional motive, the reciter and audience becomes perfect. तो इसकी तिथि भी बता रखी है कब ये ध्रुव कथा का वर्णन होना चाहिए. 51st verse. The narration of Dhruva Maharaj is sublime knowledge for the attainment of immortality. Persons unaware of the absolute truth can be led to the path of truth. उस प्रकार से this is the whole glory of Dhruva Maharaj Katha. Coming to the last verse. The transcendental activities of Dhruva are well known all over the world and they are very pure. In childhood, Dhruva rejected all kinds of toys and playthings, left the protection of his mother, and seriously took shelter of the Supreme Lord Vishnu. My dear Vidura, I therefore conclude this narration, for I have described to you all its details. Dhruva Maharaj ki Jai. Wow, beautiful Katha. Now we'll have discussion on description of the descendants of Dhruva Maharaj, or soon we'll have story of King Vena. So right now we talked about the qualities of a leader as a Dhruva, then we'll discuss and learn about what not to do as a leader, and then after that we'll have rest of the then we'll have the incarnation of the Supreme Personality Godhead. Who? Prithu Maharaj. Very important section, very beautiful section. Particularly that section is discussed for various reasons. One of the reasons is ideal leadership qualities, and second, conflict resolution. Indra versus Prithu. How to reconcile, and both were Vaishnavas. One was Sakam, one was, not, he was a new incarnation, Shakti Avesh Avatar or something. So, how to reconcile differences between the Vaishnava devotees or community like that. Very, very beautiful section will come. And after that, we'll have the beautiful story of the descendants of Prithu Maharaj. Will come to Prachini Bharishat and then Prachetas. Very beautiful 4th canto. And then we'll come to the complicated section of the 5th canto. उन सभी चैप्टर को मैं 1-2-3 घंटे की प्रेजेंटेशन में समराइज कर दूंगा. Except for the first chapter, I'll read the first chapter. King Priyavrat will be discussed and lessons from his life, where even the best of the devotees at times when they take to responsibilities can get distracted. How Priyavrat Maharaj. But as Krishna says, the devotee is always protected. So at one point of time in his life, he's reminded, and then he practices. And then from the 2nd chapter onwards, some sections we may touch upon, descent of Ganga and things like that. Otherwise, मैं सिर्फ PowerPoint presentation से आपको summarize करने वाला हूँ, और उसमें condition रहेगी, only hearing, submissive hearing. No questions asked. I mean, that is not my subject matter. I have not spent much time on it, but some technicalities will explain that like that. And then we'll go to the darshan of Patal Lok. Patal Lok में भी 28 जो Patal Lok के परे हैं. Patal Lok में नहीं आते हो. 28 hellish planets. तब तक होने के बाद हम लोग हमारा determination बढ़ जाएगा. अभी भक्ति करनी है, ध्यान से करनी है. ये करके, and then 6th canto will begin. So I'll try to a little bit speed up this so we can go through. इसी बहाने सुबह सुबह एक बार नहीं तो एक बार 12th canto तो कर ही लेते हैं. एक बार पढ़ना हो जाएगा हाई लेवल. इतना तो कहेंगे प्रभु एक बार तो पढ़ा, एक बार तो हुआ करके. Otherwise it becomes difficult with our responsibilities. All right, fine. किसी का कोई comment or question? Yes, Anshu Prabhu.
I have one doubt in verse number 36 that you explained, and it was written that only person who constantly engage in welfare activities for others living entities can reach the Vaikuntha planet. So it is mentioned that the qualification to reach Vaikuntha planet or spiritual sky is to have welfare activities or do preaching. Actually, you mentioned 19.66 also. So what happens to those who does devotional service and does not preach, and themselves only they don't preach? So what happens to those? Because in this chapter also, Guru didn't preach.
Yeah. So even just by your chanting, you're doing welfare activity. Because just by chanting, you're purifying the whole ether. So that's also welfare activity. So there's Goshtanandi, there's Bhajananandi. Bhajananandi जो स्वयं अपनी साधना करते हैं. One example is up on the altar here. is Gaur Kishodas Babaji. With that, we have it on the altar only, So somebody who even chants, practices spiritual life sincerely, even that is also a great service. Because first, he's setting an example, he's teaching by his example, and that devotee, just by his presence, reminds others of Krishna. By seeing him, everyone remember, Are Bhakt Aage, Bhagwan Aage. That's also welfare activity. Now, if you want to draw a comparison between Goshtanandi and Bhajanandi, then Goshtanandi are more dear to the Lord. Because they explicitly go out and on the order of the Lord accept that austerity to go out and move around amongst the karmis and tell them, teach them, train them about Krishna consciousness, which is a greater sacrifice. Sitting in the comfort of your house, chanting, reading Bhagavatam, enjoying life. For a devotee, is enjoyment, highest enjoyment. To sit and read and chant is the greatest enjoyment for a devotee. To go out and wander among these karmis, help them to understand, first of all, you're not the body but spiritual, how much struggle, which will be more pleasing to the Lord among these two. But it does not mean the Bhajananandi is not pleasing to the Lord. He's not doing well. He's doing. But in the comparison, Goshtanandi is more dear to the Lord. Okay? Yes.
Just to follow with the question.
Are the online devotees able to hear all of you? Should I repeat the question? Okay, go ahead. I'll repeat the question.
Just to, in continuation of what
Uh-huh.
you said, like you said that Goshtanandis are more dear or they do a lot of things. But to become a good Goshtanandi, you shouldn't be doing your bhajan properly first.
Yeah, this is again a very commonly asked question about shouldn't we have a proper bhajan before we can do. So the idea of Goshtanandi is not a decision of an individual. It happens on the instruction. So it's not that okay, मेरी इच्छा होगी मैं जाके प्रचार करूँगा. That devotee may feel like out of his enthusiasm and whatnot. But the idea of Goshtanandi in general is, the idea of my qualification to share is the strength of instruction. मुझे कहा गया है प्रचार करो. Obedience. कितना प्रचार करो? जितना सुना है उतना रिपीट करो. That's it. Because if you look at that point of view कि मेरी qualification भजन होना चाहिए, which is a valid point from the sadhaka and which is good to have that, so we remain humble. इतना ध्यान रहे कि मैं जो भी प्रचार कर रहा हूँ अपने बल पर नहीं कर रहा हूँ, अपनी शुद्धता के बल पर नहीं कर रहा हूँ, वरिष्ठ का आशीर्वाद है, उसकी आज्ञा का पालन कर रहा हूँ, इसलिए ये एम्पावरमेंट है. वरना मेरी भजन का क्षमता ही क्या है? What is the quality of my chanting? What is the quality of my reading and understanding? Which is a good attitude, which we should have it. It's not our strength. परंतु we will never have a strength also. इस कलयुग में आप कितना भजन किस प्रकार से करके आप लायक होंगे कि आप गोष्ठानंदी बन सकें. And in that, Prabhupada in the third canto, one of the very famous Prabhupada, she writes, if you don't share, all realizations will leak out. तो particularly हमने जिसके आश्रय में शरण ली है, श्रीला प्रभुपाद और ब्रह्मा माधव गौड़ीय परंपरा, वहाँ प्रचार पे जोर दिया गया है. तो what will please them is if we preach. And how do we make advancement? How does our sadhana improves? Not by our endeavor, by blessings. आप जितनी कृपा अट्रैक्ट करेंगे उतना ही अच्छा आपका भजन होगा. आपके भजन को करने से भजन अच्छा नहीं होगा, कृपा से भजन अच्छा होता है. Because what is distracting bhajan is our mind. And mind gets sober, calm by the blessings we receive. So शिष्य का कर्तव्य क्या है? To attract mercy. To attract mercy means to follow. और हमारी परंपरा में प्रमुखता जोड़ किस पे दी गई है? प्रचार. And why? Prabhupada said that is the easiest way to attract mercy because it is very pleasing to Krishna. आप अपने भजन से कर सकते हो प्रयत्न, पर फिर भी मुश्किल है in comparison to preaching. Prabhupada said that's a very easiest way to attract. चैतन्य महाप्रभु इसीलिए तो आए थे. चैतन्य महाप्रभु ने भेजा नित्यानंद प्रभु हरिदास ठाकुर जाओ प्रचार करो. That's very pleasing to Gauranga Mahaprabhu also. So you get their mercy. Mother Ankita, you have your hand up.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Oh, Kamalnath Prabhu. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
प्रभु जी, मेरा एक प्रश्न था कि जैसे मान लीजिए भागवत कथाकारों की बहुत बार हम लोग रचना करते हैं ISKCON
Correct.
प्रोफेशनल रिसाइटर्स सप्लाई भागवत सप्ताह की,
Yeah.
लेकिन मान लीजिए कल को हमको प्रपोजल मिलता है, कोई बोलता है कि कमला प्रभु आइए आप 7 दिन का भागवत सप्ताह हमारे यहाँ करिए।
Correct.
तो मान लीजिए 5,000 लोग आ रहे हैं और वो हमको बोलते हैं कि ठीक है हम 1 लाख रुपए आपको देंगे।
Correct.
तो उसमें समस्या क्या है, 1 लाख रुपए हम जाएंगे लेंगे, भगवान का नाम का कथा कीर्तन करेंगे और बाद में हम नहीं रखेंगे अपने पास पैसा। मान लीजिए अपनी अथॉरिटी जो हमारा टेम्पल है उनको लाके हम बोलेंगे कि ऐसा ऐसा है और मतलब इस तरह से क्या मान लीजिए डाउन द लाइन ऐसा होता है कि हम करने लगे और मान लीजिए बहुत डिमांड बढ़ गई, हर तरफ से रिक्वेस्ट आने लगी और मान लीजिए महीने में 4 प्रोग्राम 5 प्रोग्राम और
तो इस स्थिति को हैंडल करने के लिए जीबीसी बॉडी के अंदर एक कमेटी बनी है, भागवत कथा कमेटी। आई एम द सेक्रेटरी। भारत में किसी को भी कथा करनी है तो दे नीड अप्रूवल, सो दे हैव टू राइट टू मी। I have to organize their training program, then I have to get their whole approval process, get them a certification. जब तक नहीं होगा you are not allowed to do भागवत कथा। तो आपको लौट फिर के मेरे पास ही आना होगा उस रिक्वेस्ट को लेकर, not only because you are from Ninjewadi, anywhere in India, because generally kathas happen in India, so for all India, so I am the appointee to address that concern. ठीक है, तो यू हैव टू बी सर्टिफाइड भागवत कथा का, उसकी ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम करके। ओके, एंड द आइडिया ऑफ द ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम इज टू ट्रेन एन इंडिविजुअल in the mood of Srila Prabhupada of how to do भागवत कथा and also how to maintain purity of purpose। क्योंकि अदरवाइज भारत में कथा बड़ी प्रसिद्ध है और नॉर्थ में तो प्रमुख था, तो बहुत कथा के इन्विटेशंस आते हैं। तो जनरली लोगों का भी आइडिया होता है कथा करनी मतलब जो कथा करने आएंगे उनको पैसा देना। सो ISKCON के नाम की काफ़ी कथा चल रही थी और जहाँ पैसे का खेल होता है और व्यक्ति की प्योरिटी में भेद होता है थोड़ा, तो व्यक्ति फिर वह पैसा मंदिर को नहीं देता। सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ लेट्स से congregation has to do it and if he is going to use the money, if he's not going to give to the temple, then he's not allowed to use ISKCON's umbrella. If you're using ISKCON, then money has to go to ISKCON. So there is this attitude and the culture, and one aspect of training is Bhagavatam का अध्ययन कैसे करना है, and when you're giving Bhagavatam, those are some basic things, how to deliver, how to do that Bhagavad Katha like that. That's how. ठीक है, हरे कृष्णा। So we pause here for today. Thank you all for joining. जगद्गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, ध्रुव महाराज की जय।